Hey everybody, this is Randy Younger with Producer's Corner, and as I promised, today I'm going to show you the new mixer. See right there, the X-Air XR12 from Behringer, and I'm going to show you our entire setup in the practice room in my recording studio that we use preparing for live gigs for the artist that I'm working with, who is Lana White, and we've done 4 LPs together. And I do support her on the road and when she's playing out. And so I'm going to show you what we do as a live duo for our setup. And so let me begin taking you through the tour. So as we come into the practice room, you're going to notice a few things. We do have mains. They're not very big mains, but they are 15-inch mains, two-way speakers that have 1,000 watts per side. They're JBL Eon 615s. These are really great speakers. And we also have a Rockville 2,500 watt 18-inch subwoofer, and that sucker weighs a ton. I think it's 232 pounds. And it is probably the most difficult thing about if we have to provide our own PA is getting that in and out of the Yukon. But it is a great thing to have so that we can fill up the room. What I want you to know is when we're playing out, we actually want to have more of a full concert sound rather than just an acoustic duo sound. And so the sound system that we have, including the subwoofer, is going to help us have a really full sound. So beyond the speakers, we have a little 4-pod light pole from Chauvet. It was about $3.99, I think. It's great. It can be controlled with a foot pedal, which it comes with, which is a really great thing, and it can give some great lighting for small venues, especially venues that don't have lighting, restaurants and things like that. Then as far as the microphones are concerned, we have the Sennheiser E835s. These have a really great sound to them. They're really open on the upper end, so they have a lot of detail and high-end clarity without a lot of piercing. They also have a wider angle for the dispersion pattern on the microphone, and so if you get off axis like you would on an SM58, this will still pick you up pretty good distance away from the microphone. And especially if you're playing a guitar and you need to look down at the fretboard occasionally, this is really a good microphone to have. So we use the Sennheiser E835s. Okay. For keyboard, we just have a not that expensive. It's an M Audio Hammer 88 full weighted action 88 keyboard piano. It has great action to it. It wasn't that expensive. I think $399, and then the stand was maybe like $60 or $70. But that is an outstanding keyboard, and I love playing with weighted keys, and so that is really great for that. And then on my side of the show, I use 3 guitars. I use the Epiphone Masterbuilt DR500 MCE, which I abso-freaking-lutely love that guitar. It is a very full sounding guitar, and I've done a video on it, shooting it out with my Taylor 214 CE, which I really, the Taylor isn't getting a lot of love lately. In fact, it's in the shop right now. It has a split top. But then I have, this is actually Lana's guitar, but I use it as an E-flat guitar, as a Takamine 600 series guitar. It's about 20 years old, and it is a solid guitar, and it just sounds fantastic. It is great as an E-flat guitar. And then my trusty Schecter Do Everything electric guitar. It has coil taps on it, a great Floyd Rose, and this thing never goes out of tune. It's got great tones. It can go from a Les Paul sound all the way to a Tele and or Stratocaster sound. I just absolutely love that guitar. Okay, and then Lana is playing my Gibson Hummingbird. Just got this. This is a beautiful guitar. I did an unpacking and unboxing on it recently. It has the quilted flame sides and back, it has a maple sides and back instead of mahogany. And it's actually the mahogany ones are kind of brown on the back and sides, but this thing is the cherry, which is really beautiful guitar. And she plays that, and it has an amazing sound live. And she has a light touch, and that guitar loves a light touch. Okay, so now let's go to this rack right here. This rack right here, I built last week because I have an X32 from Behringer, and I love that mixer, but to do shows with all the cabling and everything that we've had to do, it's about a 2-hour setup with setup and sound check. And my goal was to get the number of cables down by a factor of 5, which I did, and also the setup time to around 15 to 20 minutes versus 2 hours. And so I think I've accomplished that with this rack because we have very few signals going into it. Really just the keyboard, the guitars, and the microphones. And that is really all that we have to do to set that thing up. Although we do have to hook up the Mac. The reason that we have the Mac is because we do tracks, and we do tracks from the LPs that we've recorded, and we subtract away the parts that we're going to play. So playing with tracks is a thing that is beginning to happen a lot more often than it ever used to. And part of the reason is because playing with a full band can be very expensive, and you want to reduce your cost. And if you're the musician who's trying to earn the money, then you need to be careful to minimize the number of mouths to feed that you're taking on the road. And so playing with tracks is a really big thing these days. In fact, a friend of mine, Sinclair, just got off the road with Daughtry on tour, and she had 2 other players with herself, and then they had backing tracks, and it just went phenomenal for her. And so, you know, it's less mouths to feed, and you can deliver a very consistent and full sound using tracks. So let me show you what I'm doing with it. So I'm using Digital Performer 9.51, I believe. And the reason I'm using Digital Performer is because in addition to producing, I do film score. And DP is the preferred, or at least one of the preferred apps, DAWs for film scoring. But it has some great, amazing features for live performance. If you can take the film scoring capabilities of the cue manager, you can actually use it as a live performance cue manager, which is really great. So when I pick a song here, for example, a few things happen. One is it'll play the backing track. Let me put on the backing tracks real quick. So it'll play the backing track, and it'll give us a click track on a separate channel. And so that just goes into our in-ear monitors. And then it does a couple other really cool things. One is this communicates with the XR12 mixer automatically and sends it all of the fader information and all of the scene information for everything that for that particular song that needs to be set up, including you know, any levels, whether certain things need to be muted and not on, and it takes care of all of that. And so all we have to do, and I can remotely trigger this and tell it to turn on. Once I begin turning it on, it'll go through and start playing the music. But another thing that's really great that it'll do is it'll play these lyric videos that we have synchronized to the music. And so for our live show, we have lyric videos that are synchronized in on the big screen, and I'll try to show you a couple clips of that, fold those into this video. And it gives a full concert experience. Even though that we're 2 people on stage, we have the drum sounds, the bass sounds, the keys, the strings, and everything. And in addition to that, we have the videos with the lyrics on them, and that really keeps people engaged. And we really don't have any trouble when we're out performing keeping people's attention. And we've even captured people's attention when they would be eating or doing something else, which is really great.
The way you float on air observing me is all the proof I need. Yellow butterfly, reminding me you see every day as a passing dream until I wake to you.
Another great feature of using a DAW-based system for controlling things is that when I'm playing electric guitar or even acoustic guitar, if I'm going to go between effects or levels or any of that stuff, normally I would have to have a foot pedal. which would have a lot of cables. It would be a lot of setup just to do that. And I don't have to do any of that because I plug my electric guitar directly into the interface down here. And then all of my amp plugins and models and foot pedals and everything are inside the DAW, and they can be turned on and off throughout the song, even including the levels. So if it comes up to a big solo, it automatically pushes the fader on my electric guitar. If I need distortion, it engages distortion on automatically at the moment that it needs to, and then it comes off, puts chorus and all other effects, and uses stereo and delay and the whole thing. And that is another great reason to use the DAW, because I can control all of my guitar setup without having to do anything. All I have to do is strap on the electric guitar, begin playing. When the song begins playing, I never have to worry about that. And the same is true for the acoustic guitar as well, or the vocals. Anything that we need to do, the computer can control that and send the information to the XR12, or if there's effects, inserts, and things that it's doing on its own, it can do that automatically at the right places in the song. Now, as far as the mixing board is concerned, there really is no mixing board other than what I have on the iPad here, and it does it over Wi-Fi. The X-Air XR12 has a built-in Wi-Fi access point so that I can hook my, I don't have to get on anyone else's Wi-Fi. It generates its own Wi-Fi for me, and I can just turn my iPad on and begin actually controlling the XR12 very quickly and very easily. So one of the things that's really cool is that we go to talk mode in between each song, so that kills every other signal except for our vocals and kills all the effects automatically. But when I hit play remotely to get the next song started, because they queue up automatically, they go from song to song without doing anything. As soon as the song is over, it goes into talk mode and it just waits for me to hit go again. And as soon as I hit go, it sets up the mixer, sets up all the channels, and begins sending the video. Now, one thing I haven't done yet, but I can do, is begin to send lighting information to the lights as well from the DAW. I just haven't done that at this point, but it is something that is fairly easy to do. Now let's take a look at the rack. Let me just show you all the things that I have in the rack that I need for our live performance setup. But with this rack that I've put together, I can now really get in and get going very quickly, get set up, get the room EQ'd, get feedback controlled, and everything within just a few minutes. And so here are the pieces to the new rack, and this is something you can put together very easily and fairly reasonably priced, okay? First of all, we have the XR12, which is, they have the XR12, the XR16, the X18. There's two versions of the X18. And of course, then they have the X32 rack. But I really don't need that for the live deal, for everything that we're doing, including all the instruments that we're playing and the vocals and the effects, everything. The 12 was plenty, including our in-ear monitor system, which we drive from aux 1 and 2, and we have separate monitor mixes for Lana's mix and my mix as well. But we have the XR12 here, and it's facing the inside, and I'll show you why in just a second. Then I have my Behringer. Of course, everything in here is Behringer. That's interesting. I should get a sponsorship from them. But the Behringer Firepower FCA 610, which has Midas Class A preamps for these two inputs here, and which is really great because I can plug my guitar, my electric guitar, directly into that, which is really good. And then I plug the other guitars directly into the X12, and I'll show you that in just a minute. I also have two really important pieces of equipment, I think, for any live show of any size, and that is a graphic EQ and a feedback destroyer. And the graphic EQ is really important because I want to make sure that the mix coming out the mains, no matter where I'm at, no matter whose sound system I'm playing through, that the mix that I expect to be coming out is going to be coming out every time. And so with this graphic equalizer, I have a really great feature, and that's called Auto EQ, and you can see it right here. I can set up my real-time mic get the pink noise going, hit auto EQ, and within about 2 minutes, I can have my system completely EQ'd to the room, and which is going to do a lot of things. One is going to give me the right sound balance and tonal balance for the music, but the other thing it's going to do is allow me to begin to control feedback on this unit. And it also has a built-in feedback destroyer with some automatic and one-shot filters. And these do a pretty good job for most of it. And if I have the real-time analyzing microphone on there, if there are any offending frequencies, I can find them very quickly and manually kill them with a very narrow filter. But the auto feedback destroyer works really well as well. But this is the heavy hitter when it comes to feedback control. So the EQ is the DEQ 2496 by Behringer, the Ultra Curve. It's about $299, I think. And then for $199 is the feedback destroyer, the FBQ 2496, also from Behringer. And actually, this one I got for, I think I got this one for around $100 on Reverb. And it was in excellent condition and had been refurbished, but when I plugged it in, it worked perfectly. So that was a really good thing. And I would say use Reverb for any of these kinds of things, reverb.com, so that you can go out there and get the best kind of deal. Okay, so the feedback destroyer is really great because it'll begin managing feedback frequencies within a first minute or so of setting up your sound system, and by the time you get on stage for your performance, there is no feedback. We just did a show with Angie Aparo, who wrote the Grammy-winning song "Cry" for Faith Hill, and I actually ran sound for Angie after we performed, and then Lana performed with Angie a little bit, and I ran sound for him, and he was amazed at the quality of sound that we got, and a lot of it was because we used these two items right there. Okay, then I have DirectBox that, because I only have 2 high impedance inputs and I need 3, actually I need 4, but this is a high impedance. There's 2 on the XR12. This is a third one, and I just go into one of the XLRs with a DirectBox, and then the fourth one is on the FCA 610. So that covers all of my high impedance inputs for all of my instruments. It is a little nasty in there, but everything is wired up and I don't have to rewire it at all. I just close the lid on this thing and forget about it. And the only thing I have to do when we do a live show is plug in the left-right main, and then I plug the subwoofer into, it has a built-in crossover, so I plug that into one of the through outputs on one of the main speakers. And then, so there's a left and right out, and then I have to plug in 2 guitars into the back. And then also the USB stick for recording the show live is right here. And so I do have to plug that in and remember to turn the recorder on and off, but I can do that all from the iPad. So this is fairly clean. Most everything is hooked up and will always stay hooked up, and I'll never have to worry about it again. So just plugging in the guitars really, and then to pack in and out of there, all I have to do is take the back of this off, the front of this off, plug in my guitars, plug in the mains, and I'm ready to go. So that's it. That is a brief tour of the live setup that Lana White and I use when we're playing out. I want to encourage you, if you are going to be playing out, to make sure that you have the right equipment to be able to get out there with it. Yes, there is some expense involved, but you can spend a ridiculous amount of money, or you can spend the right amount of money. The right amount of money for us, I think everything, not including the Mac and the iPad, because those are kind of pricey, but we'll just assume that you have those on hand. And by the way, the X-Air can run with an Android. You can get an inexpensive $100 Android tablet to run that, so that's not that expensive. But I would say all in for the PA, the speakers, the PA, the actual the head, the mixer was only $299 for the X-Air mixer, which is insane. And it has the Midas Class A preamps in it. It's very quiet. It sounds fantastic live, and of course with the EQs and everything. And so I don't know, I'd say I'm about $2,000 all in on the sound side, not including the Mac and the iPad. But with mics and cables and even this keyboard, of course, that's not including the guitars. We're just that guitar right there is more than all of the sound equipment put together. So, you know, that's just a matter of choice. But not including the guitars and any of that, but including the keyboard, I would say around $2,000, $2,500, and maybe less. I know that the speakers were around $499 a piece. The subwoofer was around $399, and the mixer was only $299, and then $100 for the FBQ feedback destroyer, and then $299 for the graphic equalizer, and then all the miscellaneous cables. So you can add that up. I don't know. It's going to be around $2,000, but that's going to deliver just an amazingly outstanding performance for you. So listen, I want to thank you again for watching. Love it when you guys watch. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Probably the most important thing for me right now is that you comment so that I can know what it is that you want to know about. And of course, most of my videos have to do with production and things like that. But you know, when you create music, you have to be able to go out and play that music as well. And that's why I wanted to focus on this today. So again, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Okay, guys? Thanks again.